Talking to the mic.
Do you have your mic this week?
Yeah, thanks for pressing.
We are.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I can't tell you how heartening it is to knock things over, to look out at you singing happily and of late, and it really, really is a wonderful thing. I hope you all are enjoying it a lot too. Especially since I think most of us come here to feel good. Sometimes, though, for reasons beyond our control, singing happily is just not enough. So I would like to be sure we have something for when that is the occasion. We introduced it last Shabbat, but I want to make sure it's all hours before we're through this evening. We will return to it when we finish Tefillah, the part that starts on page 164. We'll return to it with words. So before we get to that, if you would like to turn to page 625 and stick a little bookmark in there so you can go to it when you're through with Tefillah.
Last verse.
625. Behind you, pass them back. You bet. Page 625, the last two lines. Does everybody have a little bookmark? I got more if you're short. I got plenty more. If you'll pass them back, please. So let's look at why I think this is so good for when you maybe don't feel so good. Last two lines, well, the last verse, sorry, on 625. Biado avkit lukhi. And when I say his, it's written his, so I'm not trying to be gender insensitive. In his hand, as in God's hand, I commit my spirit. Not just my head, not just my heart, all of me. While asleep, while awake, and with my spirit, my body, my Lord is with me, and I will not fear. And a popular Jewish composer by the name of Craig Taubman wrote this setting, and we're just going to do it as a nigun first, so we can get into really enjoying it. So I'm going to do a first phrase, and then you'll do it with me, and we'll do it back till everybody's really happy with it. Return with me. Next line, feel free to join me anytime I'm doing it, but don't feel you have to till the second time. Adonai li velo ira. Isn't that nice? Okay, so now.
Then the cantor figured Psalm 133 we all know well enough without looking at the book, so close them up. Echo, hine,
Hine,
matov,
Mato,
uma,
Uma,
naim,
Naim,
sheverachim, sheverachim, gam yachad, hine,
Hine,
matov,
Mato,
uma,
Uma,
naim,
Naim,
sheverachim, sheverachim, gam yachad, hine, matov,
Hine, Mato,
uma, naim,
Uma, Naim,
sheverachim,
Shevet Achim,
gam yachad,
Gam Yachad,
hine, matov,
Hine, Mato,
uma, naim,
Uma, Naim,
shevet achim,
Shevet Achim,
gam yachad.
Gam Yachad.
All right, it's enough summer camp. Let's get mellow into the Shabbat mode. Anyone want to waltz in the aisle? Feel free. Hine matov umanayim,
Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. Hine
matov
Matov
umanayim,
Umanayim, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad.
hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Everyone, welcome aboard. Those distance davening with us, following on our congregational live stream, Bruchim Habayim, however virtually, happy to have you. We hope you made an occasion to download a copy of our satellite Siddur. As the cantor indicated, we are in an interesting experimental mode the last several weeks. By the first of the year, we may have tweaked our satellite Siddur to more closely resemble what you're seeing here. For the moment, you've got the main components right there in hand. Follow along, the main rubrics don't change. We do want to invite everyone, look around, make sure you know where the doors are, make sure you know where the bathroom is, make sure you notice anybody you might not have seen in a while or haven't met yet. Make a point to say hello later this evening. And let's also open in our prayer books to page 124. And we are making in our minhag now, well, we might warm up with a nigun or two, a song that's familiar that doesn't need a page. Page 124 is our mission statement. By virtue of coming in the door, you've made this room a synagogue. It's not the ark, it's not the Ner Tamid, it's not the stained glass windows, it's not the memorial boards. What makes a place a synagogue is the 10th Jew that walks in the room for worship. So all of you have made possible who all of us are. Therefore, we all proclaim together our shared mission statement. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. And let us all say, seconding each other's motion, Amen. Let's turn back a couple pages to 121, and Hanita Kern, if you'd honor us, please, by coming forth. Lahadlik ner, to bench licht, to bring holiness by virtue of the light, to dispel the darkness as the day ends and Shabbat begins.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Please join me.
Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. Act of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehanik nel shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Yishar kochech. Toda geret. And Bert Thompson, would you come forth and sweeten our Shabbat for us as we turn forward just a notch, page 123, Satellite Sidur, you're at the bottom of page 8 for the moment, to introduce our Kiddush for Shabbat.
This seventh day is consecrated to the eternal God. On Shabbat, eternal sign of creation, we remember that we are created in the divine image. We therefore raise the cup in thanksgiving, and please join us together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei pri hagafen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam,
Borei
pri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam,
Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'atzavanu, v'shabbat kodesho, be'ahava uvratzon,
Inchilanu, Zikaron l'maaseh Bereshit, Ki hu yom tehillah
למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. קיבלנו אחת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים. ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו.
Baruch atah Adonai,
מקדש השבת. טובים מלאים ברוכים. Thank you, sir. We'll take the card, return you to your regularly assigned seat there, next to the woman of your dreams. And let's all turn in our prayer books, now that it's officially Shabbat, welcomed, hallowed, and sweetened, to page 128.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat, Shabbat Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
For the folks davening with us at home, back to the front page of your book. You're going to trust the cantor for the choruses we have together, but you can trust her for the verses. Everyone else, page 138 in the big book, in-house.
Lechadoni likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadoni likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela.
Lechadodi, lechadodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadodi, likrat kala
b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'lidila.
Lechadodi, lechadodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadodi, likrat kala
b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki hi mekor havracha, mehirosh mikedem nisucha, sof ma'aseh roch Shabbat chila.
Lechadodi, lechadodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadodi, likrat
b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Verse 5. Hit oruri, ki va'orechu mi ori, uri shir David, kavod Adonai alai chila. Lechadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Last verse. Boi v'shalom ma'ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi hala, lechadodi,
lechadodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lechadodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Chatzi Kaddish, page 144. Satellite Siddur, middle of page 2, is a transition from our preliminaries into our evening service.
Yitkadash, Shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach hirutei, ve'amlich malchutei. B'chayechon u've'omechon, u'v'chayed kol beit Yisrael. Agana, agana, u'bizman karim, ve'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbam mevorach, le'olam olom elmayam yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithanar, v'yithaleh, v'yithalal, shemei l'chodesha b'rechu, le'ilah min kol birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechemata,
rise for the call to worship, page 146.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed.
Let's take our seats once more as we turn the page and prepare for the recitation of the Shema. Any one of the four options on these two pages, Hebrew or English, take a moment for personal devotion. And in a moment, the cantor, as our pace car, will bring us back together for the Chatimah, the sign-off, and onward to the prayer on the next page. 148, 149, pick one.
Baruch atah Adonai hama'ari v'aravim.
Amen.
Olam b'Yisrael amcha avda. Torah mitzvot hukim mishpatim otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu v'shachveinu v'kumenu nasiach v'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki im chayenu v'orech yameinu uva'em negeh yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavtecha al tasim imenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael.
Amen.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kol Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu advarim ha'ile asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'meitecha ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hoseitichem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet.
Geula, page 156 and 7. Satellite Siddur, middle of page 4. We're going to invite everyone again. Open prayer here. We've got 4 prayers, 1 in Hebrew, 1 in English, and 2 on the facing page. Turn inward and ponder the message of God's might revealed as experienced by our people long ago and by sought for us today. And at the end of which, in an appropriate moment, the cantor as our pace car will bring us back together in song. Tehilot Osei Feler.
Dora Tehilot Osei Feler. Malchut Chora Uvanecha, Okei Hayom Lefnim Moshe. Zeili Anu Ve'amaru, Zeili Anu Ve'amaru. Adonai Himloch Le'olam Ba'ed. Adonai Himloch Le'olam Ba'ed. V'ne'emar ki fad Adonai et Yaakov, Ogelom miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Ya Elai, 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 Elai. Ya Elai, Elai, Elai. Ya Elai, Elai, Elai.
Power and drama of the Song of the Sea, the serenity of a bedtime prayer. On 160-61, a personal moment of devotion. Find a moment of serenity of your soul, of your own in the poems here.
Baruch atah Adonai, Abore Sukkah Shalom.
Shalom Aleinu.
ועל כל עמו ישראל. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. בני ובן בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. ויום השביעי שבot וינפש, שבot וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם.
Page 164, Satellite Sidur, the bottom of page 5. Let us rise together for our tefillah. And before we step, however virtually apart, into our own personal space, our own personal mood, our own personal mode, let us begin by sharing and reciting together the word and aspiration of the psalmist. Adonai sfatai tiftach ufi agid tilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Come back together in the back of the book with your bookmark.
25. Ve'ahira ve'imochi gevriati Adonai li v'lo yira ve'im ruchi gevriati Adonai li v'lo yira.
And as we come together in song, we rejoin in prayer as well. On behalf of members of our congregation, their friends and family, those unwell, lying on beds of illness, preparing for, recovering from surgery, looking to break out of invidious cycles of addiction, anxiety, pain, and fear. So many people in need of so many different kinds of healing. Among them, Leah Jacobson, Joan Ann Bert Thompson, Bert Posner, Freda Rosef, Roberta Schwartz, Jane Barron, Joanne Blau, Maxine Brenner, Shirley Posner, Larry Satcher, Lydia Kruger, Talora Batshira, Ron Duaron, Robert Donofrio, Morgan Fraser, John Vernon, Jill Birch, Kayla Monasterio, Steve Guerrera, Julie Fitzgerald, Susan Donahue, Margaret Gallivan, Ruth Ann Ludolph, Pamela Michelle, Gary Singer, Marianne Mulligan, Peter Giori, Linda Gagnon, Christy Raymond, Phil Fournier, Tom Malota, Beth Landris, Brandon Ben Sharon, and those whose names we might like to call out to add to our prayer list. And those at home, don't be bashful about calling out a name, however virtually we receive it on this end, as together we share this prayer for healing. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the one before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Well, now is time for the answer to the question that so many members of our congregation have been wondering about. Who's Mordechai Greichman? Today, the day now ending with the setting of the sun, is the art site for my namesake. My real name is Mordechai. Mordechai Greichman from Ternovka. By definition, he and I never met. He died 10 years before I showed up on the scene, almost exactly. December of 1940, December of 1950. What's frightening is the only picture we have of him was at Passover Seder the previous spring of 1940. Somebody happened to trip the shutter of the camera sitting on the table between a bunch of empty wine glasses, and off in the distance between them was this little, tiny, shriveled up old man, which is really frightening because he was 3 years younger than I am now. He died in 1940 in December, a year and a half before Shtetl Ternovka was obliterated by a Bavarian Einsatz group. Eerily enough, 20 years later to the day, Grandpa Gross died peacefully in his sleep in bed in Los Angeles on the exact day that in 1942, Shtetl Ternovka was wiped out. Mordechai Greichman left long before then, or I wouldn't be here discussing it with you. Visualize, if you will, our Fiddler on the Roof people. We are so used to our modern, integrated, secularized, acculturated dynamics that we think of all the Fiddler on the Roof people as being frum. Well, they happened to wear pious clothes and they kept kosher because you lived in a Jewish village. Everybody did. And to be fair, that's pretty much the dynamic for my grandma's dads. Both rabbis, Abraham Isaac Chorny, Menachem Mendel Kozaskov, both of my grandmas, their dads were circuit riding rabbis in this country. They came over, they landed at Ellis Island, the Industrial Removal Office sent them west, one into West Pennsylvania, one into Northeast Ohio, and they sort of, without knowing, passed each other on their buckboard wagons as they made a circuit riding. So the dynamic, I shared this with our congregation on the front page of the Messenger a couple of years ago, the idea of running across the state to be available to help take care of the local Jews is sort of in the genes. But it was a different story from my dad's grandpa, Mordechai Greshman. I'm sure he was a pious guy because all Jews were. It's what you did. But he wasn't a rabbi. He left Fanny and the 3 kids in Ternovka in 1908. I don't know where he took ship, but he landed not at Ellis Island, not at Philadelphia, and not at Galveston, Texas, the Ellis Island of the West. He went to Toronto because his sister and brother-in-law, who was a beloved friend of his, Tzvi Heshchuna Khan, had gone to Toronto because they were turned away from Ellis Island. His nephew, their kid, was retarded, as they referred to it in those more innocent era. So turned away from America, they were welcomed in Canada. So Mordechai went directly to Toronto. And within a short amount of time, he organized his sister and brother-in-law and his developmentally disabled nephew. And they crossed at Niagara Falls into Buffalo, New York, entered the country. My dad likes to think with a wet back. The reality is they entered legally, corrected their dynamics, and headed straight to Pittsburgh. Now, bear in mind, this fellow started Ternovka, Podolia, made it somehow across half of Ukraine and all of what is today Poland and Germany to take ship in Bremen to end up eventually in Toronto. And from Toronto has come overland to Buffalo and then to Pittsburgh, where he connected with his landslide, Squirrel Hill, the Tree of Life synagogue that was shot up a few years ago. Squirrel Hill, still an intensely Jewish neighborhood. And he had landslide, his landsman, a peer support fraternity of people from the old country, from the same district, who were there providing peer support, helping each other. They found him a job managing a bakery across the river in Homestead, industrial steel town. I don't know if he knew anything about bakery. I don't know if he knew anything about management, but they got him a job managing a bakery. And a year and a half later, 1910, Fanny and the 3 kids, including Grandpa Jake, then 10 years old, came over to follow. Overland from Ternovka to Kiev to Rotterdam, took ship and landed on the SS Rheindam. You can still get a luxury cruise on the Rheindam. It wasn't so elegant in 1910. August 10th of 1910, Fanny got off the ship with 3 kids in tow, 2, 6, and 10, and $24 cash in hand. He met them at the boat, took them by train to Pittsburgh, over the river to Homestead, and together they took up farming. Yidden, who in the old country weren't allowed to own land, in the Golden Medina, the land of the free and the home of the brave, they were able to buy land and went into farming. And having initiative and experience evidently as a manager, he coordinated the other farmers in the area to build a co-op where he began selling their produce jointly and ended up making his living as a produce broker. Grandpa Gross met Grandma Gross, leaving Homestead and delivering a load of lettuce to the grocery store where she worked 75 miles away in Youngstown. This is an American success story. Fascinating, intriguing person about whom I know next to nothing except his name and the barest outlines of this much of his story, making it from there to here, What impelled him in 1908 to pack up? The granting of a constitution to the Russians in 1905, which in the big cities was celebrated, but in the rural West where we Jews lived, the Cherto Ozlosti, the Pale of Settlement, the Ukrainian peasants didn't understand. Somebody is attacking Tsar Batyushka, our father, the Tsar. It must be the Jews. They had vicious pogroms, race riots, rape and murder. Good time to blow that popsicle stand. A huge wave of migration after the Tsar was assassinated in 1881, and they blamed the Jews, followed by an even bigger wave after 1905 with the pogroms. But it took them till 1908, 3 years, to scrape together the money to go. Daniel Patrick Moynihan himself, the child of immigrants, took issue, polite issue, but issue nonetheless, with Emma Lazarus' sonnet on the Statue of Liberty. He says, "My grandparents were not the tempest-tossed refuse of anyone's shores. They were courageous, imaginative, and resourceful people who knew what they were doing and did it very well." And as for great-grandpa Mordechai, not the original Mordechai, but the original in my family, if he hadn't, he would have been dead in 1942 when the Bavarian Einsatz group showed up, but Grandpa Jake would have been shot with the other 3,106 men, women, and children in that shtetl. We read this week in the Torah, last week's parasha, this week's parasha, our forebear Jacob, the founder of the people of Israel. He left as Jacob, but he comes back to the promised land as Israel. Morris left as Mordechai Groishman, and is buried outside Youngstown as Morris Gross. Jacob left with nothing but the staff in his hand and returned 20 years later with wealth created by his own energy and resourcefulness. Morris Grossman, Mordechai, left with a carpet bag and died possessing a small business that he left to his children. Jacob returns to the promised land to establish a legacy for his descendants, Am Yisrael, in the land of Israel. My forebear Mordechai came to this new promised land to establish a family legacy for us. We Jews all have, one way or another, the same long ago family story in some variation or another. From Jacob, we American Jews all have the same family story through our immigrant forebears, a generation or two in this cohort, no more than 3 generations back. And we have an obligation on this Shabbat, if only because it's my great-grandpa namesake's yahrzeit, and I say so. We have the obligation to affirm together, as Jews and as Americans, the freedom, the successes, and the very lives that are our immigrant legacy, regardless of what their names were when they landed and what's on their gravestone. They are our forebears. We are their heritage. Shabbat Shalom.
Can you hear me? Is the mic turned on? Okay, good. Well, thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom. Greetings from our Board of Directors and a few announcements. I welcome visitors worshiping with us tonight, and I invite you to stay on hand for the Oneg Shabbat following services. Tonight's Oneg was coordinated by Mary Pinto, Joanne Blau, Mitch Braun, Bob Jarez, Heather Greenfield, Sandra Heckler, Linda Reitzes, Phyllis Rosenblum, Robin Singer, and Beth Weinberg. Our lovely Oneg and flowers are sponsored by Jonathan and Heather Greenfield in memory of Shirley Greenfield and Samuel Schultz. And our flowers are donated by Denise Schwartzman and the Bergman family in memory of Elizabeth Lizzie Bergman. Current details of everything going on in congregational life can be found on our website, in our monthly newsletter, The Messenger, and in the semi-weekly email notifications we send out to membership. Tonight, I remind everyone, we are collecting toys until December 20th for the Golisano Children's Hospital of Southwest Florida. Here at JCMI in memory of our members Tony and Mary Pinto's granddaughter, Ella Fields. There is a box in the entrance. The 2025 Concerts and Film Festival are now available for purchase at jcmimusic.com. We have a great lineup for 2025. The first film of the series, The Catskills, will be Sunday, December 22nd at 2 p.m. Did Steve come tonight? I asked him to say a few words. The next Women's Book Club will be December 17th at 11 a.m. The book of the month is The Boys in the Boat by Daniel James Brown. All are welcome, including men, and you can come even if you didn't read the book. The Jewish Federation of Greater Naples will be having their Hanukkah celebration on Thursday, December 26th at 5 p.m. at Mercado. Our very own Charlie Bloom will be the MC. The Federation
More excited.
has also organized a security community network which covers Southwest Florida. And we will be having them provide a training, or they have requested to provide a training here Sunday, December 29th from 9 to 11 for staff and for members. We highly urge you to attend this. This is an active shooter presentation, and it's what to do if an active shooter does show up. And it's good training in case of emergency, not just for here, but for anywhere you may be where anything could happen. So it talks a lot about situational awareness and what to do. Please join us for our community Hanukkah celebration, which will take place Sunday, December 29th at 5:30. Monday Night Bingo has returned Monday nights. Doors open at 5:30. Anthony Pinto Jr.'s Honey's on sale at the office for $15. A portion of the sale goes to the temple. And the office is selling memorial yard-side candles if you should have a need. Do not forget to bring in food for those in the community who are less fortunate when you come on Fridays, or leave a donation in the tzedakah box, and I thank you for that. And now, as we move to conclusion of tonight's service, I invite to the beam our final honorees, Esty and George. Let us please reopen our prayer books to page 586 and rise together for Elena.
Thank you, sir. Page 586, the bottom of the page. The cantor will be picking us up right in the middle. Do you have a medical license to prescribe?
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Kaddish prayer on page 598 is a tribute on this Shabbat to Carla Teich, David Silikowitz, taken from our midst within this past week, to Angela Nunez, whose family observes yet the month of Shloshim, to these the anniversaries of whose death were observed during the week, now ending, Lizzie Bergman, William Henry Bunton, Sadie Cott Goldman, Shirley Greenfield, Morris Greichman, Nancy Hankin, Greta Johansson, Ben Kalin, Max Karpman, Karen Satcher Porter, Ruth Rabin, Samuel Schultz, Isabel Salowski, Pamuel Germain Sharon, Bess Singer, Sarah Sturrells, Amy Scher Stolz. Anyone have Avilut Nyarzeit in addition? Zichronam livracha, may remembering them be always a blessing. As for them and because of them we together extol God's name. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alamad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'hagala v'yizman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavorach, l'olam ol mei ol maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar v'yitalev yithalal shmei dekudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alama v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the maker of peace on high make peace for us, for all Israel, for those who mourn, and let us say, amen. We'll close this evening, Satellite Siddur, page 10, in-house prayer book, page 625. We're back to Adon Olam again. I hope you left your bookmark there. Our cantor decided to challenge us a couple of weeks ago by bringing us to a French Sephardic melody, which is, if it's not Baroque, don't fix it.
Adon Olam Hashem
Allah, b'terem kol Yetzir nivra, le'et na'asa b'chefso kol, azai melech shemo nikra, azai melech shemo nikra, ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado nora. Vehu haya, vehu hove, vehu yeh betifara, vehu yeh betifara, vehu echad, ve'en sheni leham, lo lahakbira, beli reshit, beli tachlit, velo ha'oz, ve'hamisra, Velo ha'oz ve'hamisra, vehu eli v'chai go'ali hebli ve'tzara, vehu ini v'manos li, manat kosi v'yom ekra, manat kosi v'yom ekra, yado of kidruchi behei ishan ve'ahira ve'imruchi kaviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adonai li v'lo ira. Shabbat shalom, everyone, even if you're not French. Even for Russian Ashkenazim. Well, Leo, come have a bite. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
B'tei avon.
You know the rule, Leo. Whoever says, what about the motzi, volunteered to slice.